So meditation saved my life by reducing my blood pressure so much that my doctors actually couldn't explain the results, and they were the ones that told me to meditate. So this all has to do with something called the bifurcation echo, and this is so fascinating. But real quickly, let's rewind a bit. Now I had 200 over 100 blood pressure. It was insanely high. I landed in the hospital and they were afraid I wasn't going to make it. I tried every therapeutic and every medicine known to man. I was running, losing weight, sitting in a sauna every day, doing red light therapy, breathing exercises, everything you can imagine, nothing was working. And I was taking all their pills. So at a certain point, they said, you got to try meditating. I said, okay, why? Like, how would that work? None of this other stuff's working, but meditating is going to work? They said, yes, transcendental meditation will work. We don't know how, but it does. And I was like, well, I'm very left brain analytical. I need to know how it works. No one could tell me. I tried transcendental meditation, didn't like it. Kept searching, found something called Monroe Sound Science from the Monroe Institute, and it actually worked. I started meditating. Now I had a blood pressure cuff at home and I was constantly monitoring my blood pressure because it was insanely high and I was very worried about it. Nothing else was working, but this started working. My blood pressure started coming down. Now I was like, okay, I know this works, but how does it work? And no matter who I asked, no one could actually explain it to me. So I kept searching and searching, and I found an amazing, fascinating dude named Itzhak Bentov. Now, he is a scientist, also an avid meditator, and somebody who was so far ahead of the consciousness curve, he was actually able to, ascend to higher levels of consciousness and explore, astral realms and other dimensions. He was an amazing guy, but we'll get into all that in a different video. But he also was a scientist who created a lot of amazing inventions that revolutionized the medical world, one of them being the steerable catheter. So he knows a lot about the heart. And he realized there's something called the bifurcation echo. Now, he explains it like this. You have an aorta. The aorta is like this tube that goes from your heart down. And when it hits your legs, it splits like a fork in the road. And half of the tube goes in your left leg, the other half goes in your right leg. Now, when your heart beats, it creates this little pulse wave of energy. And that pulse wave goes down the aorta. Now, when it hits the fork, part of it goes down the left, part of it goes down the right. But if it hits with enough intensity, like if your blood pressure is too high, then part of that wave, part of that pulse wave actually echoes and goes back up. It reverberates back up towards the heart. The problem is your heart beats a lot, okay? So the next pulse wave has already been making its way down. Now it hits the other remnants of the pulse wave coming back up, and it creates an interference pattern. So imagine like a pond, and you throw a rock into the pond. It's going to create this big ripple. Now that ripple is going to go until it hits something. When it hits like the edge of the pond, part of that ripple is going to rebound and come back. But what if you threw another rock right after it? See, there's another wave coming. That wave hits the next wave. It creates a third wave. That's called an interference pattern. Now this is happening inside your body. Your body, think of your aorta. It's like this tube that goes from your heart down into your legs. It's a big fat tube and it's like a river and it's supposed to be still. But our heart's beating too fast and with too much pressure. So these waves are constantly going down, rebounding, coming back up, hitting the next wave behind it, and creating this, what's called a bifurcation echo. Now, here's the magical part. Whenever you meditate, when you get in a very calm state of meditation, your heart starts to settle down. It will beat with less frequency, so your pulse rate comes down, and it will beat with less intensity. Your blood pressure comes down. So now, those little bifurcation echoes, since they're spaced out more, and since they're not as big of ripples, big of waves, when they do bounce back, if they bounce back, they'll create a smaller interference pattern. With enough meditation, you'll get to the point where they're not even bouncing back. Whenever that pulse wave hits the fork in the road at your legs, half of it goes down the left, half of it goes down the right, and nothing bounces back. So there is not this bifurcation echo. There is not this interference pattern that's caused by the two waves running into each other. And then you have this still, calm river of blood running up and down your aorta, and it doesn't create this interference, doesn't create this noise and this tumultuousness inside your body. You have this still, calm river within your body. This happens when you meditate because it reduces your blood pressure and it reduces the pressure with which the blood is pumping through your aorta, and it reduces the frequency, your pulse rate, so you don't have as many of these little collisions and interactions. And that calmness, that stillness inside your body is what translates into a lower blood pressure and just an overall sense of peace and harmony in your body. That's why meditation works. Finally, I get it. Let me know. What do you guys think about this? Have a beautiful day. Peace.